All righty. What do we got going on here? All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is G, and Taffy was just here a minute ago, so I'm sure she'll be back. The previous video, y'all got lucky on the Libra video. Taffy sat right here with her face facing you guys as she let me rub under her chin, and it was just the cutest thing ever. The cutest thing ever. Okay, let me get to the business. This is for June 2023, Scorpio. You are watching Allastrology. We're going to talk about your June. And before we get there, we got to back up a little bit and talk about mid-May. And I'm only going to talk about it because we're talking about Jupiter. Jupiter's pretty important in the month of June because Jupiter changed signs halfway through June. Jupiter went into Taurus, the opposite of you. That means your seventh house. Holy moly. So let's talk about Taurus just a little bit. Taurus is my values, who I love, what I love, my self-worth. It's also my creature comforts. Some say it can be attachments because it's magnetic and it's about my desires, who and what I desire, right? That's that Taurus energy. It's in your seventh house. So if it's in your seventh, this is your partnership, significant one-on-one relationships. Now, Jupiter going there means Jupiter expands upon things. It adds to whatever it touches. You get my drift? Scorpio, you get my drift? Yeah, you understand what I'm saying. I'm saying that when this happens, you should expect that seventh house should suddenly become bigger. Now, your seventh house is partnerships. And many times when we look at who is it in that house, like what people, like as an example, you will hear me talk about the fifth house as my children. When we talk about people, it's my children. It's also my romantic partner. So it's not about me and my physical body, but it's my children, my creations, what I do for fun, my romantic partner. And so that's the fifth house. And I'm only using that as an example. So now on the seventh house is your significant one-on-one relationships. So what I want you to do here is in your mind, what people fit that bucket? Whose faces go into that seventh house? Let's just pretend the seventh house is like this area right here in my hand, right? Or I'm holding it here in my hand. Whose faces go here? Whose pictures, whose faces get here for the seventh house in your life? All of a sudden, there's going to be more of these faces. There's going to be more. And it can also mean that whoever your partners are, their world and their values can expand in some way, can multiply even. So not only your significant one-on-one relationships, but you may see them having maybe possibly more of a social life. And I don't mean social is in terms of just going out and I mean, I don't know. It's been a long time. I'm way older than I used to be. So I don't know what people do anymore. I'm not talking about going to the bars and hanging out and doing any of that. I'm just saying because it's seventh house, which is significant one-on-one relationships. So these are people that we compromise for. We work with them. We're willing to meet them halfway in some way, right? You know how when you meet people and you either get along or you don't, and then the ones that you get along with really well, they may ask you something and it might not be something you care for. Like, what if you got a friend or your husband or your wife or your significant other who says, "Can we go see a movie?" And it's like they name the movie, right? And you're like, "Oh God," right? Or those kinds of movies. But because it's your partner, you're like, "Can we get popcorn?" and you're buying, right? You see what I'm saying? So you compromise. You realize, it's like you're going to be doing something you don't want to do. So what's in it for you? How can we compromise? I'm willing to do this, but can we meet me halfway? Meet me halfway, right? And that was just a really oversimplified example, right? But it doesn't always have to be someone you're literally married to, because many times I have seen in so many people's lives, siblings play this role for other people, friends that they're really good friends with, right? An adult, a parent can play a role as a significant partnership. So it is people, just think about who those people are that you're willing to compromise for. And they can fill that seventh house up. And you may see that happen many times in your life. So Jupiter will expand upon that. Okay. Now, for some of you, if you are single and looking, or if you're dating and you're praying and hoping, oh my God, maybe we'll get married one day or something, all of a sudden you're going to meet people. There's all of a sudden that seventh house is going to fill up with faces. And it's like, wow. So, because Jupiter is typically masculine energy, if you are looking for masculine energy in your life, in your seventh house partnerships, it's coming. It's going to be here for the next 14 months. For the next 14 months. Okay. Now, I will also add this can be professional. You follow? Because I know somebody who has this, and that's exactly it. He already has one job, but he took on another job doing some other work. And it's not typical work. It's kind of like straight cash, So it's like one of those great jobs. But he's doing, it's more like, we'll just say consulting. We'll just say it like that, doing consulting. So it's like one-on-one, but yet it's got nothing to do with like romance. Not at all. It's business and private, but it can be marriage. You follow? Okay. So with that, that's Jupiter in the middle of May. Now, at the beginning of June, that Jupiter touches into the North Node right at the beginning of June. So for you, Scorpio, you are intense, right? You're intense. You're all about, you're the soldier. You are the soldier. And if you have Jupiter and the North Node, just keep in mind that for many of you, that's that seventh house energy I just talked about, right? Yeah. Significant one-on-one relationships. So this can be professional. There can be partnerships. You may be hooking up with people who can maybe introduce you to other people, and it's going to be about your future, the values of your future. And those are being dependent upon those important one-on-one relationships. Or it can be marriage, or it can be both. I know somebody, they were like, yeah, I could see living the rest of my life with this person. And I could see us going into business together, like being that couple and doing that. It doesn't have to be like that, but it can be. It can be. Okay. I think that takes a very special couple to be able to accomplish that personally. Because I personally couldn't do that. There's no way in hell. I need my work. You go do your work, or at least there has to be a decent amount of separation for myself where I'm doing my own thing, because I'm very independent in that way. And I need that to exist. Like I need my own thing to exist. So it's not that I don't want to do the mixed thing or the sharing, but I absolutely, just as important, have to have the independent part too. You follow? So for me, if we're working together and we're married, and then it's just like, okay, what do we do alone? Like, is there ever a time that we're spending apart? Like, there's got to be a balance. And so I guess that's what I'm saying. The balance factor has to be big for me. So that's why I think that takes a special couple to be able to do that. And to stay married, of course. Like anybody can do that. The difference is, are you happy and do you stay married? You don't want the War of the Roses where we've killed each other. And the seventh house, they often refer the seventh house to as the house of open enemies, meaning, like the War of the Roses, like the person that it's kind of like the saying, keep your enemies close by so that you know what they're doing at all times, like that kind of thing. But also, when people go through divorce, it ends up being like a battle, right? And so that's that whole thing. Now, this isn't to say that you have to go through that. It's just saying you should expect a lot of things increasing. And it could be money, it could be values and partnerships that bring an increase in your values. Okay. Now, Mercury's been retrograding and doing that fun thing, and the retrograde is now over. And so the beginning of June is a big deal when we talk about values in your seventh house because the rubber has hit the cement. The rubber is on the road. Things are stabilizing, stabilizing. So this is powerful. Something in relationships is stabilizing for you, and they can be beneficial because Jupiter is called the greater benefic. It is usually very generous, very generous. The North Node Jupiter thing right at the beginning of June is known to be the most auspicious time of 2023. What do you have at 3 degrees? And honestly, for many folks' charts, you may have something at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees of Taurus, like a house cuspline or some other planets or asteroids or minor bodies, and it's all relevant. It all matters. So if you want me to take a look, just comment to me and I'll help you out. If you don't have your chart and you don't know what the hell I'm even talking about, but you're like, I should probably know about these things or at least get started, comment to me and we'll get you started. This is a service of the channel. I will help you in any way that I can. Okay. Now we have another thing to talk about, and that's a new moon, a new beginning towards further into the month. And this happens around the 17th and the 18th of June. The thing is, because the new moon happens late in the day, I'm in the central daylight time zone and it's 11:37 at night, okay? So it could be on the 17th or the 18th, and you want to pay attention uh to that because you're going to adjust for the time zone that you live in, right? Some people all across the world, there's could be a difference of 6 hours in this. And the thing about a new moon is it's time to manifest. It's time to hone in on what we want in our life. And new moon energies are those times of great manifestation. It doesn't mean you do your prayer or you do your little ritual and all of a sudden you open your eyes and it's on the table. It doesn't mean that. Things can happen fast for some of you, but normally, it is stuff that over time it will appear in your life. Okay. So the 8 hours before that new moon, things, those 8 hours before is the hours of power. Okay. And this is a new moon that affects Mercury. Mercury is the ruler of this new moon. And why I think this is so important and powerful is because when we're thinking about what we want for our future or what we want to manifest and bring into our life, we're using Mercury energy. That's our mind. It's how I think, how I talk, how I communicate. It's a new moon in Gemini, right? Gemini at 26 degrees and 43 minutes. Mercury rules this new moon. So this new moon has the ability to truly bring you that which you desire. It's important. And what did I just talk about in the seventh house? Jupiter, desire, Venus, Taurus, partnerships, likely business partnerships too. Very powerful. Now for Scorpio energy, this beginning is in your 8th house. Why does that matter? Because you rule the 8th house. You're Scorpio. This is your placement. But you happen to have Gemini there. Okay. So it's how you think about the past and the wounds of the past, how you think about communicating, what you keep track of, how you share information. This can be wounds and hurts from the past. They have to do with coworkers, with peers and friends, possibly siblings, possibly neighbors. Wounds, intense, deep emotional wounds. This is a new moon. So what this allows you to do, it allows you to truly use your power, Scorpio, because the 8th house is emotions. And when we have a new moon in a place of emotions, remember, emotions are the fuel for manifesting what we want in our life. So knowing this in advance will give you ample opportunity to plan, to use all the Mercury keywords as to what you want to bring into your world. Because it's in the sign of Scorpio, this is tricky because the eighth house can many times be about a release in a sense, because I want to transform and change and I've got to let the old ways go to bring in the new, that kind of thing. So your intentions, your affirmations might include things like, I no longer hold on to thoughts that no longer serve me. Does that ring a bell with anybody? I no longer identify with the wounds of my past, because what we're doing here is we are reprogramming our mind when we have a new moon in Mercury in a place of old wounds and hurts and likely some tragic crap. Okay. So use this power, because what you're doing is you're getting to the root, eighth house, you're getting to the root cause of the way you think. Many times we don't understand why we may have negative thoughts or why we communicate and share information the way we do. And sometimes, we may have encounters with people, or maybe we've chosen to not talk with people any longer because of these wounds about communications, because it's Mercury, Gemini, deep emotional wounds about the way that I communicate. Okay. So this is some deep psychological stuff. And you can use this new moon to kind of change and transform that. And it's a process. You have to be persistent at it. It's a process. And for this kind of a new moon, because it's in Gemini Mercury, the pen is mightier than the swords this time, Scorpio. Definitely write some stuff down. Definitely use this to your advantage. Definitely write down that which you want to release that no longer serves you. It's your wounds about communication, but it could also simply be things that happened in the past with siblings and coworkers. There might have been something there. This also speaks to that there might have been something from childhood, like in grade school, even a learning. Some people don't learn. Everybody learns differently, right? But back in the day, we were all just clumped together for the most part. We were all just kind of clumped together. And it was just like, even in our little 30 student classrooms, we were all clumped together. But within that group, the teachers would try to put, into like three groups, group A, B, and C, or group 1, 2, and 3. And so there was the group they were a little on the accelerated path, and then there was the group they were average, and then there was the group where they were a little bit slower. So, in hindsight, now that I'm thinking about that, that was actually a good thing, because it was recognizing that people learn at a different rate of speed, right? And so if you were involved in an upbringing, whether it was at home or at school, where that wasn't acknowledged, and maybe you were made fun of, or maybe you were like things were said and you felt inferior or inadequate or lack in some way, it's time to let this shit go. Scorpio, you can do this. This is a powerful time. This is a powerful new moon. And at that degree, 27, 2643, 27 degrees, it's really saying, I'm responsible for my own life. I'm responsible for the thoughts that I keep. This makes me think of Jesus and some of the parables and the weeds in the mind, and how you have to, if you've got a garden, you have to do the weeding often. You have to constantly go in. Think about it. If you've got a garden, if you're a gardener, literally a garden, right, in the yard, and you've got your dirt and your soil and you put your seeds down, don't you have to go in and weed? And if you don't weed out the weeds, if you don't pull them out, what happens? They can overgrow and overtake the garden. And then what happens when you do weed and you pull them? And then you're like, what the hell? I weeded. They're coming back so soon. You didn't get the root of it. And that's what this is. This is getting to the root of those thoughts, and where the hell did that crap come from? Got to go back to those old wounds, got to go back to stuff that might have been even that a carry over in the soul's history. And that is difficult. That sometimes require a lot of meditation and introspection, and sometimes past life regressions. Many times you can just simply write. You can just simply journal, and you'd be shocked and surprised. And I speak from experience on this one. You'd be shocked and surprised what good can come from that. Just letting your hand right and not even having a specific thing to write about, but just forcing yourself to sit your butt in that chair and just say, for 30 minutes a day, I'm going to do this. And over time, you'll be shocked and surprised to see what comes out and to see how you'll increase your own awareness. And once you do that, then you'll be able to see the thoughts. And sometimes you'll be able to trace that back to an event. And it is just that awareness that makes the change. That's why awareness is so important. People always talk about ascension and initiation, like in esoteric ways. Oh, he's a master, she's a master, or they're on the path of initiation. It's awareness. That's all it is. Because once we are aware, automatically things change. Automatically their choices and your decisions start changing. No, it's not overnight, but it's a beginning. So Scorpio, if you've got wounds, if you've got hurts, this is a wonderful way to release that crap, to change and to transform it. And you could likely help others because Scorpio, this 8th house, this new moon in your 8th, is also the healer of the zodiac. I know we talk about Chiron, but no other sign. Chiron's a planet or an asteroid or whatever you want to call it. Scorpio is the only sign in the zodiac that we associate as the healer. Okay, so heal yourself. You got this. Enjoy your June 2023, Scorpio, and thank you for your time. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Below the video, I'll have all the degrees for those of you who like to pay attention to the degrees in your chart. Again, if you don't know and you want to know, just comment below.